Eli is reaching into the gaping hole in our bathroom wall, pointing to an area behind our newly installed $6,000 pipes, telling me, "Yeah, you got some dangerous black mold here, Chris." Eli is here to finish up the job our plumber started. Patch up the hole in the wall, paint, and install the floor, shower, and vanity. $1,000, simple. Now, Eli is telling me that my wife Tessa and I got ripped off by the plumber. Eli starts shaking the pipes, showing me how loose and ill-fitting they are. He assures me he doesn't like to talk bad about other people's work, but since he considers Tessa and I and our 2 young daughters, Sage and Nico, family, he had to say something. He says $1,000 ain't gonna cover it anymore. Here's the problem, or more accurately, the problems. Number 1, I'm not sure I trust Eli anymore. I mean, he's done good work for us in the past, and he's the boyfriend of a close colleague. But when he showed up for the quote a couple of days ago with his 4-year-old daughter in tow, something wasn't right about him. He looked pale and thin, his jeans barely hanging onto his waist, hands shaking, talking at the speed of light with crazy wide eyes. I told myself, he's a dad like me. Maybe he's just super stressed. But then yesterday, after accomplishing very, very little, he asked for an advance. I wrote a check for $500, which he promptly cashed. I try to convince myself, maybe everything's gonna be fine. Which leads to the second problem right now. I'm not sure I can trust myself. I'm in the middle of switching my ADHD medication. I've been battling daily surges of random anxiety along with relentless spinning thoughts that feel like I'm losing my shit and I just want to scream! I started the medication 2 years ago. I've been plagued by a lifetime of anxiety, self-doubt, and self-loathing, often lost in thought, rehashing conversations, deriding myself. Jesus, Chris, what were you thinking? What's wrong with you? When I started the medication, the obsessive self-interrogation subsided, replaced by a newfound manic sense of, I'm the man! I can do anything! I even started to wonder, is this what normal people feel like? Unfortunately, this didn't last. For the last year, I've been on edge, storming around the house, screaming things like, where's my fucking water bottle? This volatility has upended my marriage and household, leading me to a new psychiatrist and a new medication. And she warned me, things are gonna be rough for a few weeks. Which leads to my third and most serious problem of all. I'm a middle-aged suburban dad. Which to me means I'm not supposed to lose my shit. I've got to hold it together, be a loving and protective husband and father. Father of the year, best dad ever, all that. What I never expected was the protect part of my parental role would mean protecting my kids from myself. Unfortunately, over the last year, Tessa, Sage, and Nico have had to withstand unpredictable episodes of screaming and slamming doors, the manifestations of my rage. A very old rage rooted in the abuse of my upbringing. When I feel like I'm losing control, I seize control by losing control. And for a brief moment, I feel powerful. For years, I thought I had my rage under wraps, but lately, the agitated edge of the stimulant, along with household stretches like overflowing toilets and shit-covered floors, have led to its reemergence. And right now, I am being triggered. And what that means, my rage isn't far behind. I've got Eli's black mold, more money lecture replaying in my head. Tessa's gone for the evening. I'm in charge of bedtime as I hear Sage and Nico on the other side of the house screaming at each other about whose turn it is to pet our dog Lucky. They scream and they scream and they scream and they won't stop. As their voices rise, so too does a familiar pressure in my temples. How many times I had to suffocate this pressure in the shadow of my screaming mother before figuring out I could unleash my screams into a pillow or an empty house, releasing the mounting tension. Unfortunately, there is nowhere for me to go, and I snap. I storm away from Eli, whooshing aggressively down the hall into the kitchen. I can't take it anymore, you two! Get away from Lucky! Get in your pajamas! Brush your teeth now! They try to offer explanations. I explode further and watch their faces turn from anger to fear to streaming tears as they both retreat to their rooms. And now I'm alone in the kitchen. The house is still, except for Sage and Nico's muffled crying, ebbing and flowing, along with the incessant pounding coming from the bathroom where Eli is doing who knows what. And I still want to scream. Not an ordinary scream. I want to scream the kind of scream that sends my rage at light speed through the atmosphere, out of my body, out of my life. I lunge myself towards the pantry. I peel open the clear container of sea salt, dark chocolate, turbinado, sugar almonds, and start shoving handful after handful into my mouth, breathing heavily through my nose, chewing, chasing the calm. The sweetness and subtle salt only holds me for a moment before I'm left feeling empty. And so standing in the kitchen, the place I was so often dragged by my screaming mother so she could pull the ancient, discolored wooden spoon from the drawer and crack my knuckles, just as the nuns had done to the misbehaving boys in her school. I feel like endless swarms of locusts are pouring out the top of my skull, on and on and on. I'm paralyzed and I'm freaking out. I just need Eli out of my house. It's bedtime for the kids. I make peace with Sage and Nico, apologizing for losing my temper before they go to sleep, all the while strategizing how I'm going to fire Eli without making him my junky nemesis. I want him out of my life completely. I can't point to anything incriminating, so I pull him aside and decide to point to myself. Hey, Eli, listen. I'm in a real bad headspace right now. My psychiatrist is switching up my medication, and I really just need to feel in control right now. This ain't working out. Go ahead and get your stuff and head out. And for a moment, I think I see a look in his face that says, the jig's up, huh? Then he says, yeah, I know what you mean. I'm also in a bad place right now. Sorry it didn't work out. He leaves. I breathe a sigh of relief. I need to sleep. After an unsettled night of tossing and turning, I'm standing in our bathroom, kind of worried about the dangerous black mold, wishing there was some way to inject my veins with clarity about whether or not Eli was full of shit. I call the plumber and tell him the whole story, and he asks, well, have you looked at the pictures I had you take when we were done? The pictures! I forgot about the pictures. I jump into action. I take a picture of Eli's handiwork and place it side by side with the picture the plumber had me take. Suddenly, I'm looking at one of those children's mind games where you have to circle the 5 things that are different. And there, in front of me, is the unequivocal evidence that Eli sabotaged our plumbing. It was playing me for a fool. I'm quite certain now there's no dangerous black mold. Instead, there's a dangerous suburban dad. The morning's in full swing. I'm already stressed. Tessa's left for work. I'm in charge of getting the kids to school and we're running late. I call Tessa while aggressively pacing through the house, wondering aloud how we ended up giving Eli $500. Tessa reminds me, I wrote the check because I'm someone who wants to see the best in people and who's trusting and generous and kind. All supportive messages under normal circumstances, but right now, all I can hear in her description is that I'm a goddamn fool. I explode. I start screaming into the phone. I'm going to find him, confront him, threaten him, hurt him. Not physically. I want to hurt him in a more sinister way. I want everyone in his life, including my colleague, his daughter, his whole family, to know he's a thief, a liar, and a junkie. Tessa strongly disagrees with confronting him in any way. I angrily hang up on her in mid-sentence. Daddy, what's going on? So I often wonder what it takes to do the right thing in a moment like this, when my body is screaming at me to destroy, to show power, take control. How do I explain to my body, which is feeling the terror and powerlessness of my past in the present, that there's a way to be in control without losing control? In fact, if I want to fulfill the promise I made to myself to never become my mother, I can't lose control right now. I can't lose control. After years and years of dancing with my rage, I know right now I need to take some steady deep breaths and talk to myself the way I should have always been taught to. Hey, Chris, relax. Take a deep breath. You got this. I turn around and Sage and Nico are studying me, and they look scared and confused, and I try to explain what's going on. Eli stole $500 from us, and I'm very, very mad. He stole from us? Well, I'm mad too. And Nico says, me too. And Sage adds, what are you going to do, Daddy? I pause for a moment and I breathe. Have you guys ever heard about writing a letter that you don't send? I learned this practice many years ago after my first love cheated on me. Instead of tormenting her, I scrawled my darkest hurt and anger in my journal, and it liberated me. After I tell Sage and Nico how it works, Nico asks if she can add something to the letter. Yes, I'd love that, Nico. I'm going to write it after work. Dear Eli, you motherfucker! How dare you come into my home, call us family, deceive us, steal from us! You brought your goddamn daughter with you! She played with our kids! I trusted you! You motherfucker, fuck you! And Nico wants you to know you're a butt crack boo. You're stupid and you smell like a stinky banana. Sincerely, go fuck yourself! So I leave my room, I walk down the hall toward the couch where Sage and Nico are sitting, and they're reading books before bedtime, and I sit down in between my girls. And they both rest their heads on either side of my chest, and I wrap my arms around them and hold them, reading, smiling. This is my favorite place in the world. Sitting here with Sage and Nico, I feel calm, unburdened, and free for now. Although I wish I could stay in this place forever, I know from experience when it comes to my rage, there is no finish line. I mean, I did it, I outsmarted it, but I'm never done with it. I can only hope that after going round and round and round in these battles, there will be just enough victories by the time my girls are grown that I can say to myself, the cycle is broken. Daddy, did you write the letter? I did. Do you feel better? I do. Nico pipes in, did you put my part in the letter? I did, and it was definitely my favorite part because you know what, Nico? What? He did smell like a stinky banana.
That was Chris the Donk, Onderdonk, everybody!